What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? Welcome back to another episode of the 76-hour podcast. New intro alert. I know y'all boys like that, John. You are here tonight with your main man, Yeen, and my main man, Nizzy Now Jack Stacks. How are you? How are you doing tonight, my brother?
Doing good, bro. Doing good. No complaints. Same old stuff, man. And just really looking forward to this NBA season. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Real quick, we know, or not we know, but your boys, the Eagles, are 2-0.
Yes,
How,
sir.
how do you feel about that? Even though their offensive coordinator isn't in the groove yet, how do you feel about your boys being like one of the actual best teams in this league, doing more than all of the best teams last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely all Eagles fans, including myself, do have like some reason for concern because we have very high expectations for this team because of where they went last year, and we've seen flashes of what they did last year in these first two games, and we could have easily lost the first game. It was like very sloppy. I don't really think that the game against the Vikings was really in question, at least for me per se. I feel like we had
Hmm.
pretty much control of the game, even though we did play a lot of sloppy ball in there too. But um, for the most part, I mean, I'm just glad that we're 2-0, still undefeated, and it's just it's early in the season. Every team is having their struggles. Like the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Lions, and Joe Burrow in Week 1 didn't even throw for 100 yards. So,
Hmm.
it's just a lot of kinks to be working out. But all in all, I'm just happy that we're undefeated and we're playing Tampa Bay on Monday night. I think it's an away game against Baker Mayfield and the
Baker.
crew. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming that we're going to win that game, but it's any given Sunday or any
Monday.
given Monday. But
Uh-huh.
so far, I'm pretty much pleased. But I do expect us to do better as the year progresses.
Most definitely. As you eloquently stated, I am also glad just to have a 2-0 squad, and I am very into this year because in my fantasy football team, I have
You definitely beat me
uh
too. This.
I definitely did. I I ain't say nothing, but as you see, Bulls whoop that butt. Uh, I, I, I got what's his face, Hurts and AJ Brown. So like we'll like see how that go. So I'm very interested in how the Eagles will be doing this year. I'm predicting a Super Bowl win, or at least a
Hope
Super
so.
Bowl
Appearance.
appearance, or at the very least a like NFC Championship. I like
No
keep
facts.
going down,
You
like
got high
like
expectations now. You know
yeah,
what I
bro,
mean?
like
So like
it's time, it's time, it's time.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's time. Shout out to the boys of the Blicky Boy Football League. Shout out
Yes, sir.
to them boys. So on the show today, the Philadelphia 76ers, your Philadelphia 76ers are Philadelphia 76ers, have made two potentially important signings of the off season. Who would have guessed it? The Bulls have signed two wings, a position that we're not necessarily used to seeing on the court, at least in the city. We have signed Danny Green, Mr. Three Rings, got 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 our vet back. My vet, one of my favorite Sixers of the last 10 years. As well as one Kelly Oubre. That's a nice name.
Yes,
Like
sir. Yes,
known
sir.
young nice name with a wing. Who signed a 1 year minimum deal with the actual team. I think Danny Green signed a minimum deal as well. What is your thoughts on both of these signings? Of course, we can delve into the individuals. But like, what do you think of Daryl? Ba- ba- Basically taking his time to like craft this team and like waiting until September to like sign two wings that can actually help this team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually a fan of both of these signings. I know a lot of Sixer fans have a lot of mixed feelings about Danny Green, but
Hmm.
we at the end of the day we lost George Niang in the playoffs, and even though he made a really bonehead mistake in that game 7 against Boston. He is a good three-point shooter, and
Yes, he is.
we do need shooting.
Hmm.
So Danny Green fills that void. Um, and we do need wing scoring off the bench. Because right now we really just so prior to the Kelly Oubre signing, it was really just D Anthony Melton and Pat Bev. I know we have Jaden Springer for Concord Miles. I mean, that bench isn't scaring anybody. So we just really need somebody to.
Daniel House. Daniel.
I mean, he had that one good playoff game, but
Nah, he
that was
trashed though.
false hope. But yeah. So I think this definitely adds more depth. I'm assuming that Kelly is going to be coming off the bench, even mainly because he's not that great of a three-point shooter, but there's a chance
Mm.
that he like could start. But regardless of where Nick Nurse puts him, it's still much needed wing depth. I would like to see him come off the bench because then you have D Anthony Melton, Oubre, and Pat Bev off the bench, which I think is a pretty decent combination. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty much a fan of both of these signings, and I'm really interested to see what Nick Nurse's or how Nick Nurse plans to use these new pieces and um en route to, you know, contending for a championship. And I really like this Oubre signing because of, like, at least in my mind, James Harden's not going to play. So this really
Hmm.
helps us out a lot. I mean, clearly Oubre's no James Harden, but he can provide
He a
um
bucket, bro. Low key.
yeah, so he can, I mean, like, he averaged 20 a game when he was with the Hornets last season, and I don't think he even has to average that playing with the Sixers. Like,
Mm.
if he can give me like a good, like, around like 12, 13 points off the bench, like, I think that's a win combined with what I know D Anthony Melton is going to give me. So yeah, like, I'm just very excited to see, you know, how Nick Nurse is going to use these new pieces.
Reading off his stats, Kelly Oubre, who some would say is the most handsomeness, handsomeness. I don't know. Most beautiful basketball
Yo.
player in the league. I personally wouldn't agree, but with that being said, last year with the Charlotte Hornets, man's averaged 20.2 points, 5.2 boards, and 1.1 assists in 32 minutes per game. He played like what 48 games, so I think he was injured either before the year began or like after. Um, I guess something to monitor and look at. This is like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be This will be his actual 10th year in the league, which is wild. Because like when you think of Kelly Oubre, like I think of him as a young boy. It's like
Yeah,
just like in that range of like D book type age, group, cat, age group.
exactly.
But it's wild just because like they low key are becoming the actual new vets, like Russ,
Crazy, bro.
KD, PG,
They
Kawhi. They are the
fizzling
actual
out.
like, yeah, like
Yeah,
bro. Like I
it's
honestly feel
crazy.
as though once Bron leaves, the league is really
It's
in
gonna be different,
trouble
bro.
because just because like Bron isn't
He's the
even
face.
like he's not even a vet. Like he's a basketball god at like this
He's still averaging
at
like
like this like
damn
point.
near 30 points a game after 20 seasons, bro. That's crazy. That's
It's
unheard
wild.
of.
I like will say though, the game has trended to where it would be easier for a player like him to last because defenses aren't as um
Physical.
physical. So like Bull can do his thing. I'm not saying like that like Braun has it easier because it's still hard just to play ball and like man's is like what 38. So like the fact that like he's like still playing at a high level his like what 19th, 18th year in the league, being the main guy. Hats off to him. Um, but yeah, the league is very well, not the league, but um, these players, superstars, are like getting very old. But to get back on track, the Sixers will be Kelly Oubre's 10th team. Um, and I don't know why, but originally I was thinking that like he would be a starter on the team, but then now that I'm thinking about it, we do have Tobias, so there would be no reason to. You insert him on the bench, and that gives us more depth. Um, I was doing like research on him, and Kelly really isn't that like consistent with his threes nor like twos. But when he's hot, he is hot. Um,
Facts.
and he like brings a like spark,
Spark plug.
hypeness,
Exactly.
characteristic type ball to this team. Which I mean, at this point, that's kind of what we need because we have the players or like pieces or like how can I say this? Like we are right there, of course. So the only thing that like we can tweak per se is the personalities on this team. Um, to see if like we can get more tough. We also bring back in Mr. Three Rings, Danny Green. Once again, one of my favorite vets. And I think he's here specifically. Well, he can still, shoot the actual spot up three. At least I like. At least I hope so,
Better.
because you know how like Bulls come here and it can't shoot. Um, I think he's here for the spot up three and as well for the leadership role. It's
Definitely.
wild just because like for as much as like Bulls can like hate or like think Daryl hasn't done his job, he's putting like mad like leadership dogs near Joe. Why?
Which we
Because it's
need.
like clear like that's like what the ball needs. Like we took Danny Green, we took PJ Tuck, we took Pat Bev. Like those are like the dogs of the league. Like
Facts, bro.
not even like I would be shocked if like Bull gets what's his name? He has locks from the Bucks. Dark 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 skin bull, big.
Um, that
You know him though.
he has locks and he plays for the Bucks.
He like used to play for the Celtics and like Cavs.
Celtics and Cavs.
Like it's like
Oh,
hype bull, like
oh,
big bull.
you talking about Jay Crowder?
Jay Crowder. Other than him, I feel like those three bulls are like the dogs of
No
the
facts.
NBA. Now, of course, yes, they are past their primes, but I mean, basketball or like sports in general is probably like what 85 per per percent mental.
No, most definitely.
So we're putting all of these mentally strong dudes around Joel to like see what he can do, and now it's like put up or shut up time. To be honest, I think that time has passed. I feel like after what he did after the Celtics is like chalked. But at the very least, we're seeing that the GM or president of basketball ops is filling in the actual weaknesses from this team or like on this team. So
No facts.
um the question is, what do you think we're going to do with James Harden? He is still the dangly caveat piece for the rest of this squad. Do we keep him? Um, ESPN, or I guess her like name was Ramona Shelburne,
Mhm.
came out with a news story, basically saying that the Sixers and Clippers have like stopped talking or like broke down talks like about the actual James trade like weeks ago.
Yeah.
Um, and since that's the only team James wants to go to with those talks stalling? What's going to happen with James on the team? What what do you think?
I mean, I think that we're just going to end up trading James Harden for scraps at this point because I really don't think that he's going to play a single game in the 76ers uniform. And I know with the new collective bargaining agreement, especially since the Ben Simmons situation, there's going to be more fines, more consequences. But this is James Harden that we talking about. He has endorsement
Right.
deals and stuff like that. He not going to care
He
about the
good. Right.
fines.
Right. More
Yeah,
good.
you know what I mean? Like, if, like, this was, like, some random role player, then I'm like, "Alright, then we're probably gonna end up keeping him." Because I'm like, we remember, like and I don't know if a lot of Sixer fans remember this, but this was, like, a few months ago.
Hmm.
Furkan Korkmaz requested a trade, and I'm like,
Again?
"No, this happened, like, a while ago." Like, I'm, like,
Oh,
talking, like, about the like, yeah, and this
like during
yeah.
the like yeah during the actual year.
Yes,
Yeah.
and,
Right.
like, I'm like but, I mean, because he's not really I mean, with all due respect, he not really
Oh
that
my god.
bull, you know what I mean? So he don't
Right.
have any leverage, but, I mean, I think at the same time, James Harden really has to be careful because even though, those fines won't hurt you, you really have to consider what your NBA legacy is going to be because if you leave the Sixers, like there's no guarantee that a contender is going to want to sign you. And if a contender does sign you, I mean, like, do you fit in? Because I mean, we know James Harden wants to win on his own terms. He wants to be
Mhm.
the guy, and he at least wants one more max contract. And he's 34. And if your goal is to win a championship, the best place for you to do that is in Philadelphia. We literally took Boston to a game 7. And that was the closest that we've ever been to advancing to the conference final in years. And I'm always a big fan of teams sticking together even when they lose because you have that chemistry. I mean, look at Golden
Camaraderie.
State.
Yeah, bro.
Draymond, Clay, and Steph been team
Draymond.
for like, they've been together for years, you know what I'm saying? Now,
Facts.
LeBron, I feel like is the only exception just because he's
He's Brown.
LeBron. He's able to go to different teams and still win championships, but that's, he's Bron, you know what I
He's
mean?
Brown.
Just
Right.
you feel me? But, like, most teams, they, stick together and end up winning, championships, and I feel like, James has to now, I don't know what went down with him and Daryl Morey. I don't know what he said. I don't know if he promised James Harden anything and said, "Okay, well, like, I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to trade you," and did it, and I already have an arrangement set up with the Clippers. It's like I don't know. Well, none of us know what was said, but at the same time, it's like, bro, like if the Clippers aren't going to trade for you, do you really think like even if James doesn't play at all this season and he goes to the Clippers next year, you think the Clippers really going to give you a max contract, bro? Be
They
for real.
probably can't anyway, because like if they're trying to like
That's what I'm
re-sign
saying.
Bulls like
And plus, and not even the Clippers. Like, if you sit out this whole year, who's going to give you a max contract? Who?
mm,
Nobody going to give you no max contract. And I guarantee you, whatever team that he ends up on, if he sits out this whole entire season, he's going to get paid less than what he's making now with the Sixers. Because like for this season, I believe he's due like what 33 million or
30
something like
something.
that.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
most teams aren't going to be like, oh well, let's sign James Harden to a 1 year $30 million deal. That's not realistic. And now
right.
you're hurting your own pocket. So whatever beef you have with James Morey, and I know we're on the outside looking in, so we don't know the full
You don't
details,
know.
but
Mm,
whatever beef you have with, I mean, like you have to understand, like you're hurting your chances of legitimately winning a championship. You know what I mean? Like you won your MVPs, you won the scoring titles. Just buckle down and win a chip. But I think ultimately, we're going to end up trading him, and I don't think we're going to get equal competition at all. I think we may get a few second round picks and maybe a couple of role players, and that'll be that. I just think it's going to get to a point where Daryl's going to be frustrated and it's going to be close to the um trade deadline. I do expect for him to be moved close to the All-Star break, like a little bit before then. But I think it's just going to get to the point where it's just like, well, I mean, he's going to leave anyway. So even though it's only going to be pennies on the dollar, let's try to get something for him. And I think Daryl Morey is going to try to prioritize getting draft picks that could potentially turn into something versus just role players that we already know what they are, kind of thing. So I mean, if we can get like a first round pick and hopefully that turns into like a early 20 something pick, I think that's a win. But I think that's probably what we're like what we're looking at for James Harden. And like you said before, when we signed James Harden, we knew what we were getting ourselves into. We knew
Mm-hmm.
the type of player that he was. At the end of the day, we gambled and it didn't work out. So, I mean, I know we all were excited when we got James for Ben Simmons, and rightfully so. But it's just like it's a gamble and it didn't work out. So now we just gotta bite the bullet on that. But I do like these pickups that we've had so far, and I really do think that especially if Maxi takes that next step, we can legitimately still be a championship contender. But it really depends on how this team is going to look. I do think we play more of a team oriented style of basketball with James not in the lineup, and that opens up the door for Maxi and even Tobias to do their
Mm-hmm.
own thing, because they were using Tobias as like a spot up shooter, and that's not really his game like that. So now, I mean, maybe this team looks different, and maybe this is better for the team and better for the chemistry. Who knows? But ultimately, I think he's going to be traded for some draft picks a little bit before the All Star break.
So then you would say that like he doesn't play, so he holds out
I don't think he
until
plays
then.
at all. I mean, I know
Mm,
a lot of people, especially within ESPN, think, well, he's got to play, especially with this new CBA agreement, and I get that, but once again, this is James Harden that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's
I
not
don't
like he's
think,
just some boy. Yeah,
yeah,
facts,
like
facts.
James Harden is the type to hold out, and you know what I mean? Like, this is James Harden, so I'd be surprised if he suits up in plays. I personally would. I don't bank on it happening. Like I said, I think he's going a little bit before the All-Star break, and it's probably going to be to a team that he doesn't even want to go to. But I mean, you requested a trade. The Clippers don't
Mm-hmm.
want you. He's not going to the Warriors. I don't know what contender he can go to. I mean, even if the Lakers want to get him, like, they're not going to want to pick up his contract. So I mean, like, I don't know what contender he's going to go to. He's not going to the Nuggets. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't
So
know.
who?
So I'm saying, so it's just like
Yeah,
whatever team he ends up on, it's not going to be a team that he wants. Um, so it's just not looking good for James. But yeah, he's going before the All Star break, in my opinion.
I think that this whole drama thing can maybe somehow morph into something good. I do like the actual pickups that like Daryl made this off season. Once again, is just going to come down to Joel and like if he's able just to put himself in a position to succeed. Daryl has given and Elson Brand too. Shout out to Black
EB.
Black Man. Um, they have given him tools to like work with.
Yeah.
They like gave him play, players that like match his skill set. Finally, players that like have a dog in your face, grinded out mindsets. They gave him a coach that can actually draw up plays um, in crunch time. In the past, we know that like Glenn just like mainly just let Bulls do it themselves, which is why like Embiid would like always be at the top of the key at the end of games. um, so like it like comes down to him. He had James last year. Um, didn't take advantage of that. Actually, he did because the Bull won an MVP. So I like guess, but not won it for the fans and himself. So we'll see. I'm not sure if James plays or not. For some reason, I feel like he like does. I
Really?
don't I don't know why. I just feel like James might say like fuck it and just do it. Maybe
Who knows?
that's like the fan in me hoping that he does.
I, I
Um
feel you. I mean, I hope so too, but I just don't see it, man. I just like in my mind, James Harden isn't a member of the 76ers organization. I mean,
mm.
especially like him coming out and just calling Daryl Morey a liar just outright and him just standing on that, you know what I mean? Like I just don't
Does he
know.
come to does he come to media day?
I don't think so.
Really? It's like that like
I
that?
think that James is done,
Uh,
bro. I think game
mm,
7 against Boston was the last time we've seen him in the 76ers uniform. I don't think he shows up to camp. I don't think he comes to media day. I don't think he's
mm.
like I don't know if he lives in Philly or if he has like a outside home in Philly or
He
whatever.
don't live here, bro.
I don't think he comes in the city of Philadelphia, bro. I mean, I think he just sits on his couch chilling, eating cheeseburgers until he get
You.
traded somewhere, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I mean, we've seen this story, bro. Like him coming in out of shape, looks like he has a whole fat suit on or whatever. It's just like I would just rather him like, this is the Ben Simmons thing all over again. So it's like, okay, we know that you don't want to be here. Like, I don't even think I would want him to be around all the players. You know what I mean,
That's what I'm thinking, right? Like,
yeah.
will it really like do you think this saga will mess up chemistry? Because last time I feel like with the Ben thing, it kind of like um brought them cl- closer. Um, do
That's a
you
good
think
point.
because like most of these guys on the team currently who are James guys like Dan House, PJ, maybe Pat Bev. Like, if this thing continues with James, it can create friction in the camp.
Well, I also think that it's important to point out that James Harden and Joel Embiid are friends. Like,
Mm.
they're cool. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid weren't necessarily friends; they were like coworkers, basically. At least that's how it felt. So, um, I just think that, with the whole organization, with the direction that it's going, like we're trying to win a championship. Or it's like, and are you trying to be a part of that or not? You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like with him having one foot in the door and one foot out, I feel like that because it's like James Harden is a diva. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yeah.
like he is. It's like, do you want to be here or not? Do you want to win a championship or not? And if you don't, then just like stay out. And even though Joel Embiid and James Harden are cool, I do think that that's gonna start to cause problems because it's just like, don't give us the impression that you're gonna,
All right, you
be
wasting time.
yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like our window is like very small, too many second round exits back to back to back to back. And I think it's gonna, cause problems. And I understand that Patrick Beverly and James Harden are friends as well. You know what I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
mean, like, he's friends with a lot of players that are on this team, but at the end of the day, business is business. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's like you gotta be on the type time where it's like, all right, I'm here and I'm here to work, and I know that James Harden doesn't want to be here, so I'm just like, I don't be like because of that, I don't expect them to show up. I don't expect them to take no pictures in no uniform. I don't expect them to be in here in no preseason, in the regular season. Like, I just don't expect him to be a part of the 76ers at all. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't count on it, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well, it will definitely make for some interesting fandom experience. So once again, the Sixers are still doing their whole tango with James Harden, and in the meantime, they sign two wings, one Danny Green and the other Kelly Oubre, who low key, and this is me being messy, but Bull like took James's girl back in the day
Really?
and then married her. I think, and if
Oh
I'm
wow,
wrong, I'm like wrong, but I think Kelly Oubre's wife used to be James Harden's ex ting.
that's crazy.
Kelly Oubre stole her from him and then married her.
Mr. Stay Your
Um,
Girl.
which would then say that Maury is given another fu to to, to like James. He said,
That's
"I don't care, bro."
crazy. I mean, at
He
the
said,
end of the day, I
"That's
mean, like,
jokes, bro."
business is business. I mean,
He's like, "All right then."
his job is to bring in players that he believes that's gonna better this team, all personal business aside, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And if that's what it is, that's unfortunate, but I mean, that's just what it
And
is.
that's why I'm kind of glad that like I'm not in uh famous position because I don't want no past AA rounds. And not saying that like miss is if you are, it's all good. But personally, no,
So, I
no.
ain't with it, I ain't with it. I feel you
But
though, bro.
yeah, bro. I guess that is all. Want to thank everybody for pulling up, listening to Two Bulls talk about their favorite team, the Philadelphia 76ers. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Sixers content from a black male perspective. How about that? We will talk to you next week. Um, I think Media Day is in like a few weeks.
Coming up,
It's
yeah, because like, the season starts in, like, what, late October, right?
so basically like 1 month. So maybe in the next 2 weeks, there will be media day. We will keep watch to see if James Harden shows up or not. But either way, we will talk about the team in a good fashion. I hope y'all all learned something and stay safe out there. Peace.
Yes, sir.